I've bought a lot of storage units over the years, some great, some complete disasters, but nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what I was about to find when I handed over $2,500 at an auction last weekend. The bidding war had been intense. It wasn't just the usual crowd of treasure hunters. There were a few strangers there, wearing sharp suits and dark sunglasses, which instantly made me suspicious. The unit in question had its door cracked open just enough for bidders to peek inside, and all I could see was a huge dusty tarp stretched over something big and low, to the ground. Most people whispered, "Junk," and moved on, but something in my gut told me this wasn't junk. The shape under that tarp looked aerodynamic, smooth, like it had a purpose. I couldn't tell if it was a boat, a weird piece of machinery, or maybe, just maybe, a car. When the auctioneer called for bids, the price jumped quickly: $500, $1,200, $1,800. By the time it hit $2,500, everyone else backed off. The suits exchanged glances but didn't raise their hands again. I had one. The moment the lock was cut and the door rolled up, my heart started racing. Dust particles floated in the sunlight, and that same tarp loomed in front of me. I stepped inside, feeling the crunch of gravel and debris under my boots, and grabbed the edge of the tarp. With one big pull, it came free, and there it was, a 1960s Formula One race car. At first, I couldn't even process what I was looking at. The body was long and sleek, with open wheels, worn racing slicks, and faded sponsor decals. The paint, once a bright, deep red, was dulled by time, but the iconic racing number on the side still shone through the dust. It had that narrow, low-slung cockpit that looked more like a coffin than a driver's seat, and a steering wheel that was no bigger than a dinner plate. I stood frozen. How in the world does a priceless piece of motorsport history end up in a forgotten storage unit? The more I looked, the stranger it got. The car had no engine, just an empty bay where it should have been. On the seat sat an old leather helmet and goggles, cracked with age but still carrying that unmistakable smell of oil and gasoline. Behind the car, stacked in old wooden crates, I found racing memorabilia, yellowed photographs of pit crews, timesheets from Grand Prix events, and faded posters advertising races from the late 1960s. Each photo had the same car in it, the very one sitting in front of me, tearing around famous tracks, from Monaco to Monza. Then I noticed one photo that stood out. It showed the car on a track, but in the background, a group of men in military uniforms stood watching. They weren't mechanics. They looked like officers. On the back of the photo, someone had scrawled in smudged ink, "Prototype, confidential. Do not disclose." My skin prickled. Prototype, confidential. I decided to dig deeper. In the corner of the unit, buried under a collapsed shelving unit, I found a locked metal briefcase. The lock had long rusted, and with a little force from a crowbar, it popped open. Inside was a bundle of papers, each stamped, classified, in bold red ink. The documents weren't just about racing. They referenced experimental fuel systems, high-speed stability tests, and names of companies I'd never heard of. And at the bottom of one page was a handwritten note: "This chassis was never meant to be sold to the public." I was officially in over my head. I called a friend of mine, Jake, who's an expert in vintage cars. When he arrived and saw it, his jaw nearly hit the ground. This is insane," he muttered, running his hands along the chassis. "If this is authentic, it's worth millions. Even without the engine, collectors would kill for this." But then he frowned. "You know this could also be trouble, right? Stuff like this doesn't just vanish. Somebody's going to come looking for it." As if on cue, a black SUV pulled up outside the storage facility. Two men stepped out, the same suits I'd seen at the auction. They didn't come inside, but they stood by the SUV, watching, waiting. Jake and I exchanged a glance. We worked fast, loading the crates of memorabilia into my truck. I took as many photographs of the car as I could, documenting every angle, every marking. Jake promised to make a few calls to see who might be able to verify its authenticity without drawing too much attention. That night, I barely slept. My phone buzzed with messages from Jake. "Don't move the car yet. I think I know someone who can help, but be careful." The next morning, I returned to the storage unit, only to find the padlock cut and the door wide open. My heart stopped. The car was still there, thank God, but the briefcase of documents was gone. Someone had been inside. I don't know if it was the men in suits, the storage facility staff, or someone else entirely, but one thing was certain: this wasn't just a lucky find. This was something people didn't want me to have. Now I'm faced with a choice. Do I go public, show the world what I found, and risk drawing even more attention from whoever is watching me? Or do I quietly sell the car to a collector, and hope the whole thing blows over? Either way, this $2,500 gamble has turned into the most dangerous discovery of my life. And something tells me the real story of this Formula One car is only just beginning. I didn't touch the car for the next 24 hours. I just stared at it every time I went to the unit, half expecting it to vanish overnight. But the more I thought about those missing documents, the more I knew I couldn't just walk away. Jake called me the following morning. His voice was tense. "I spoke to an old contact of mine," he said. "Retired Formula One engineer. He swears there was a program in the late 60s where a few race teams worked with military contractors. They were experimenting with lightweight armor and exotic fuels for military vehicles. Supposedly, they used Formula One chassis as test beds. But all the records disappeared. That would explain the military men in the photo, and maybe even why the car's engine was missing." Jake's contact agreed to meet us, but only if we brought the car to a private location. That was easier said than done. Towing a priceless, one-of-a-kind Formula One car down the freeway isn't exactly subtle, but by nightfall, we had it loaded onto a flatbed and covered with a tarp. We took back roads, avoiding main highways. At one point, a pair of headlights appeared in the distance and stayed with us for miles. Every turn we made, they followed. My stomach was in knots. Finally, the car turned off down another road, but the paranoia didn't leave me. We arrived at an old airplane hangar on the edge of a disused airfield. Jake's contact, a weary man in his 70s named Harold, was waiting. The second the tarp came off, his eyes widened. "My God," he whispered. "I thought they destroyed these." He walked around the car slowly, his fingers tracing the rivets and bodywork. "This isn't just a Formula One car, this is a prototype from the Orion project. We built these for testing advanced aerodynamics at extreme speeds normal cars couldn't survive. The military wanted to adapt the tech for reconnaissance vehicles." I asked him why there was no engine. "That's because the engine was experimental too. Multi-fuel, high compression, dangerous. It could run on standard race fuel, jet fuel, even alcohol mixtures. The problem was it was unstable. We had incidents, bad ones." His tone darkened. "If the wrong people know you have this, they'll stop at nothing to get it back." Before I could ask who the wrong people were, the hangar lights flickered. A loud metallic clang echoed from the far side of the building. Harold froze. "You weren't followed, were you?" Jake and I exchanged glances. We moved quickly, covering the car again. Harold urged us to leave it with him for safekeeping. "I can hide it where no one will find it. But you need to decide if you want to keep digging. Once you go deeper, you can't go back." I hesitated, then handed him the keys to the storage unit, and told him to take it. As much as I wanted to keep it, I knew I was out of my depth. Over the next week, I didn't hear a word from Harold. My calls went to voicemail. Then, one night, I got a plain envelope shoved under my apartment door. Inside was a single photograph. The car, fully restored, with its original engine reinstalled. No note, no explanation, just the picture. Jake thought it was a warning. I wasn't so sure. Then I noticed something in the background of the photo. A reflection in the hangar's glass window. A black SUV. The same one from the storage facility. Now I'm certain of one thing. This car's story isn't over. Somewhere out there, someone is still watching me. And maybe, just maybe, this wasn't just about a forgotten race car but about technology that could change everything we think we know about speed, power, and history itself. And I have a feeling they want me involved, whether I like it or not.